Hi everyone, my name is Julie. This is Keep Calm with Books and Coffee. I talk about books on this channel, mainly books about magic. And today we are going to be talking about my reading plans for July. Now, what I'm going to say is going to sound contradictory to what I'm about to do, but I'm actually hoping to slow down a bit in July. I doubled the number of books I read this year in June. I basically went from 40 to 80 in June, and that was all thanks to the Amazing Readathon. I had a great time. I read so many things, but I'm actually hoping to read a little bit less in July. So let's launch my TBR game. So I'm going to be participating in at least one low-key readathon next month, which is Margaret from the Word Nerd. I'm going to be participating in her mid-year scramble. I've done this for a couple of years now, and it really helps me get back on track and focus on what I want to kind of help me refocus my goals is what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to be participating in that, and I have created a TBR for that readathon. I'm actually going to pop it up here because I'm going to focus on my physical TBR for July, because as much as I read in June, there is a lot that I got from the library or Libby or whatever that I ended up not reading a ton of my physical TBR down, which is what I wanted to do, but it's just not what ended up happening. So we're going to try to do as much physical TBR reading as possible in July. And then we're also going to launch this TBR game. So essentially, my TBR game is going to be a bingo board. It's going to have a little bit of extra doodads to it. We are going to roll a D5 every month and see how many squares are going to be on the bingo board. So if I roll a 2, it's going to be a 2x2 bingo board. If I roll a 5, it's going to be a 5x5 bingo card. And if I roll a 1, I have to roll again, because you can't have one square. Unless I'm feeling very overwhelmed, we're gonna roll again for 1. So there is a possibility that we could end up with a 6x6, but most times the biggest one we should get is a 5x5. So after that initial roll and I find out how many spaces we need to fill, my plan is to roll a d20, and the numbers correspond to how difficult the prompt is. So if you are a little bit familiar with D&D, usually low numbers are bad, give you bad consequences, and high numbers give you good consequences. So any number from 1 to 5 on the D20 is a difficult prompt or something more challenging for me to do, because I'm actually mixing some lifestyle prompts in here too. I am a big mood reader, and I'm not always trying to completely fill the board. I'm hoping to get a bingo. I'm hoping, to get diagonal, postage stamp, vertical, horizontal. I did those backwards. Yes, I did at some point in the month, but I'm also hoping to just fill out as much of the board as I can. So 1 to 5 is a difficult prompt of some kind. Then 6 to 15 are basic prompts. They're ones that I don't consider a huge jump for me, but they're also not super wonderful prompts. They're just, I think I called them basic on the cards. And then anything from a 16 to a 20 is a reward prompt. So something I really want to read, something I really want to do, a favorite thing of mine in some way, shape, or form. So those are the ones that I am really looking forward to. And I just thought this would be a fun way to do a little bit of a TBR game every month, but also leave a lot of room for mood. To start out, I'm going to be pretty lenient with myself about swapping out books on the board. Like if I get a prompt of a genre, say I get a fantasy prompt and I decide to read a different fantasy book, I'm not going to get penalized in any way. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I would penalize myself, because I already have hard prompts in here. But I also want this to be fun for me, and also it's not necessarily something that's gonna be a really difficult thing or something that I want to punish myself with. I want this to be fun, especially next month. I don't want it to be something that is a drag for me to do, because I am hoping to kind of take a break from reading, do a little bit of a more chill month, but we shall see what the dice have in store for me. This is a little bit of a lie because I have actually done the rolling. I know what the dice have in store for me, and unfortunately, the dice were a little bit mean. What I have learned before we even get started, what I have learned is I'm gonna need more prompts. So if you have any prompt ideas, please let me know down below. And I also need to figure out a better place to film this. So I apologize that this is a little bit difficult for me to read the D20, and it's a little bit shadowy. I didn't want to blow it out too much with correcting the colors, but it is a little bit difficult this first time. But I am learning, and we're learning the game. So let's jump in. So if giving me a 5x5 board for the first time in a month that I want to take it easy isn't mean enough, the die said you can't even read a book off your TBR because you have to read a manga book, and I don't have any manga on my physical TBR. So I am gonna most likely go for either a Imakoi or a Spy Family volume for this prompt. I have been reading both of these series in June for the first time and really enjoying my, perusal through them throughout the month. So I want to continue reading these and finish up or catch up on the series, and either one of those will probably fit this prompt. I am really hoping to double up as much of these picks as possible to my mid-year scramble TBR. So for the next prompt, Illumicrate, I am going to choose Fathom Folk by Eliza Chan. This is going on my mid-year scramble TBR as the currently lowest rated book on my physical TBR. So we shall see how this goes, but this is such a beautiful Illumicrate edition, and it's my most recent pick from them. So I'm excited to try this. We'll see. I'm a little bit hesitant now that it is the lowest rated. Then the cards threw me for another loop by doing the next on Libby, so I have to accept and read whatever comes in next on Libby. I will show you what I currently have on Libby on hold for various reasons and what I might get. Some of these have a couple week wait, and I've been delaying them through Amazing Readathon, and other ones are a couple of months wait. So I'm not sure what I'll get first. Probably not the month ones, but these are some of the options for that. And I will hope that it is one that I have a physical copy of and I want to read the audiobook of. Then we get to knock out a physical read as well as this square. And then I rolled the oldest book on my TBR, and that is The Tiger's Daughter by Hey Arsenal Rivera. I'm hoping to do a project with a few of the oldest books on my TBR next month, so this is a great, choice for me. I'm really hoping to get to it. I'm a little nervous though because I put a bunch of long books on my mid-year scramble, and this is also long, so I really don't anticipate getting to all 25 of these books or prompts, and if I can, I am going to double up because 25 is well outside what I would normally read in a month, but the point is to put things on there that I'm going to read and then get bingo. So I'm going to allow myself to double up when I can, but so far we haven't had any opportunities. As I say that, I ended up getting an opportunity because for this I got a special edition, and for this could be a book that has sprayed edges, just an alternate cover. It could be a book box edition, and so I'm gonna put Fathom Folk on there again in hopes that I end up getting to this. The next prompt was water on the cover, and for this I've chosen Cuba by Ada Ferrer. This is a nonfiction read that I'd really like to get. I think I have this on hold at Libby at the moment for the audiobook, and I would really love to get this next month. I love to take a nonfiction book with me to the beach, and I am actually taking a beach vacation next month, so if that would all work out, this would be a great pick for that, and I would really enjoy that. But this is one that does have water on the cover, and I also need to read more nonfiction. My goal was to read 4 this year, and I haven't read any yet, so definitely something that I wanted to put on this TBR as a sort of reset, recenter to that goal. Then we have the prompt of romance, and for this I've chosen A Sure Thing by Joanne Lowell, and this is actually my local bookstore's romance book club pick for the month, and I am gonna miss it because of said beach vacation that I just mentioned. However, I did already get the book for it, and this is a historical romance featuring a trans main character, and I really want to read it. It has the cutest cover, and I found out this was going to be our book club pick. I got really excited, and now I am anxious to read it. Next up was a YA book, and for this I'm actually gonna choose one of the Raven Cycle books. I'm not sure if I finished my Raven Boys reread a few months ago when Brittany, Rainey, and I started it. I sort of abandoned that project even though I meant to keep going with it. I just was reading too many books at the time, and since that was a reread, it got shuffled to the side. But I am excited to read this again, maybe jump back into it. Maybe I'll just finish out the Raven Boys. I really want to try to get to the sequel trilogy, and I just keep having trouble making time to get to this reread so that I can reread the final book. Anyway, it's a whole saga. I would like to reread this trilogy so I can move on to the next series, but I'm having trouble, so that's why it's going on this list. Next up, we have paranormal romance, and for this I am going to choose Sanctuary by Alana Andrews. This is a novella set in their Kate Daniels series. I'm really excited for it to come out, and I think it comes out early in July, so I am anxious for this. It's supposed to be short, a little novella, and I cannot wait to read it. It centers around one of my favorite characters in the series, and I can't wait to see what happens in this. Now you might be asking, Julie, I thought you said that if you roll between 16 and 20, you will get a reward prompt rather than a hard or basic prompt. And you're right, I did. This is the hazard of realizing that you're playing your game wrong the first time because you had to pick 25 prompts. You don't have 25 sides on the dice. So in my brain, I was going from 6 to 20 as basic prompts and waiting for those numbers 21 to 25 to show up for my reward prompts. Suddenly clicked in my brain that they were never going to come about this point. So we got to this point, and now I started playing my own game properly, but I didn't want to go back at the time and try and figure out exactly where it had gone wrong. So we're just going to play it this way this month, that the second half of the game, or second portion of the game, is correct, and this first little bit was a trial run. So if you're playing along at home, please know I probably gave myself 2 or 3 basic prompts when I needed to give myself rewards, so I'll just be extra gracious to myself this month when I don't read all of these books. Next prompt is one of the hardest I think that I came up with, and it is to finish a series. But if you saw my series video in sometime this month, you would have seen I had a lot of series ongoing, and I have a few that I can't finish. So I'm choosing The Nobleman's Guide to Seducing a Scoundrel by KJ Charles. I believe this series is a duology, so I only have to read this book. It also fit in for a summer release because it was released early September last year before the solstice, so I'm gonna say that it's a summer release, and I'm excited to read it. I wanted to read this as soon as it came out and it just didn't happen, so I keep trying to put it on TBR so that I end up reading it because I really love KJ Charles's books. Then we have food on the cover, and for this I'm choosing Funny Story by Emily Henry. This has lemons on the spine as well as lemonade on the front, and I've chosen it for 2 prompts for Margaret's scramble board, so I definitely want to get to this next month. I've been wanting to read this for a while and definitely want to check it out. This is Emily Henry's latest release, and I heard a lot of good things about it, even from people who might not have been Emily Henry fans for every book that they've read. Like maybe they have mixed feelings about her. A lot of people have been saying this is her best, so I am excited to check it out. Here's one of my not reading prompts, and this is to clean off my Pango page. And for this is me telling me that I have to, take a few books off, maybe donate them somewhere, clear out some space in my basement where these books are being stored. So this is an action that I can take at some point in July. Our next prompt was a Friends 5-star read, and I'm going to choose Funny Story again for this because I believe Katy from I Would Rather Be Reading has given this 5 stars. If I remember correctly, she absolutely loved this book to pieces earlier this year, so why not pick it for this? And I thought that would be fun. Plus, once again, it doubles up a prompt and I do not have to read an extra book. Another lifestyle prompt. We get to go to a new coffee shop next month, which is exciting. I used to explore my local city a lot, but I have fallen out of the habit, and I would really like to go explore a few of my local cafes, and this was a prompt way to do that, kind of put me out of my comfort zone, not just in the reading way. A 2024 release. We're not gonna keep tripling up Funny Story, but I am gonna put a Sure Thing on here again so that I have even more incentive to read this one. I'm really excited that bookstore trip came up because I'm hoping to go to the bookstore before we go on our beach vacation and maybe pick up a little something special to take along, but we shall see if that happens. But one of my goals this month is to go to the bookstore. Who can argue with that? Then we have a Libro FM library book, and for this I'm choosing Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo. I got this last year when it was released. I actually went to a book launch event for this book, and I was so excited that it came out, and I have loved Elizabeth Acevedo's YA that I have read from her. This is her first adult novel, I believe, and I had to put this on this TBR because earlier this week, I actually contacted my family that I'm going to the beach with, and I was like, hey, would you all like to read the same book and maybe possibly discuss it at the beach this year? And everybody went for it, and I was really excited that everyone thought it was a good idea, and we ended up picking this book. So I am super excited that this ended up being the pick because I both have the physical book and I have the audiobook available. So I will be listening or reading this at some point. And yeah, I think it'll be really fun. So I'm locking in my pick for YA book to The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater so that I can choose The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater for this second book in a series prompt. I am really... The Dream Thieves is my favorite book in this series. It's just my absolute favorite, and I really want to reread this series like I was saying earlier, so I'm trying to lock it in so that I focus and actually do it this month. Check on me later to find out if we actually do this. Then we have a book with black on the cover, or a predominantly black cover is what I was kind of going for with this prompt. So I'm going to choose The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I soft DNF'd The Familiar somewhere in the middle of June. I was trying to read it when the audiobook came in, and I was listening to it really disjointedly, and I knew I wasn't giving the book a fair chance. So I ended up deciding to return this to the library early and just soft DNFing it. It wasn't wowing me, but I would like to give it another try here in July without letting it languish on my shelf too much longer. So whether I get the audiobook back from the library or not, I'm going to try to read this book next month. I'm not even going to try to sugarcoat the fact that I'm not going to get to all these books next month, because now I had to choose a TBR in review book, which I've only done one TBR in review video this year. I have been busy with being, in other collaborations and working on other projects, but I really want to focus on TBR in review the second half of the year, and I'm accidentally showing you this book as I move it up and down. For this, I'm choosing The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is also on my Margaret Scramble, and I am sinking in my chair, but I really want to get to this next month. I'd really like to get to this at some point in the second half of the year, I should say. This is one of the books that I have to read for my next TBR in review video, so hopefully we will get to it soon. Another lifestyle prompt of spend one sprint watching BookTube. I am so far behind on my BookTube watching because of Amazing Readathon. I just did not take the time to watch BookTube. I read books instead, and I miss catching up with all my BookTube friends. I really need to go back and see what they've been up to for these past couple of weeks. I was doing okay like the first week of June, but I really have fallen off the bandwagon. My watch later list is atrocious, so I'm hoping to get there, and this is going to help with that. This is why I said I need more prompts, because I need to continue a series, and I also said finish a series, and I'm using the same book. So I'm going to use Nobleman's Guide to Seducing a Scoundrel again for this prompt. Next up is another lifestyle prompt to read a book with my coffee. And I don't have a specific book for this. We're just going to read something. Maybe it's going to be family lore, maybe it's going to be funny story, maybe it's going to be something else, but this I'm leaving wide open. Then the last prompt is a reread, so I'm going to assign one of the Raven Boy books to this square, whichever one I end up using, reading, doing, whatever, and that's all the squares. That's a lot of books. I was really not expecting to get 5 right off the bat with this project, but that's how the cookie crumbled, that's how the dice rolled. I know I will not be getting to all of these. Like I said, I am planning on taking it easier next month, but there are some commitments I have, some books I want to read that I'm excited for. I have to read for projects, etc. So I'm really hoping to see what I can accomplish next month and how far I can knock down my TBR. So I was sort of planning on updating you on my goals in this video as well, since we are doing a, goal-focused readathon next month, as well as starting the TBR game, but I think it's going to be too much. I would like to sort my thoughts a little more. I feel really scattered. I feel like we talked about a lot of books today, so that will be a separate video coming to you soon. I also wanted to mention that I will be trying to participate in the Australian readathon in some way, shape, or form. I'd like to read at least one book for that next month, so I didn't end up getting anything Australian on this TBR technically, I don't think, so I will need to find something, but I would like to participate that a little bit, so I'll be checking that out as well. But that's another low-key readathon that I'm going to attempt to dip my toes into. I did it. So please wish me luck on this TBR, because this is outrageous. If you want to guess how many books you think I'll actually read in July, go ahead and let me know down below, because I don't think it's even going to be a quarter of what I read in June, but we'll see. we'll see how much faith we all have in me. But that is it for me today. If you have any thoughts or feelings or want to share anything about the books or the game or give me a prompt for future games, please let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching. I have been having such a good time on BookTube this year, whether it's making friends, interacting with you guys, whatever. And I just really appreciate all the friends and support I found in this community. And I really was reflecting on that throughout making this game and this video, because I don't know if I would have done something like this a year ago, because I just have learned so much from my friends. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.